Hello and welcome to another episode of Love, Life, and Energy. Today, we're going to be talking about the three wisdoms to a happy, effortless, and effective life. And this is one of those things that wise people say to you when you're growing up, and you're like, yeah, whatever. And then you realize, oh, this is really, really important. So you're going to love this episode. Stay tuned. So I was hanging out with my girlfriends in Barcelona in Spain, and one of my friends who I really love, her name is Cathy, and I begged her to come and share her wisdom in this episode, but she said she was too shy. But I was like, you have such amazing wisdom. She's in her mid 50s. Please don't, Cathy, please don't like get me wrong if I've said your age, but I think you'll have like this incredible wisdom because I think you have this amazing relationship with your partner. So you're able to grow in this way. And when you told me how you came upon these three wisdoms, was that actually chatting with your partner, and this is how you arrived at this conclusion that these are the top three wisdoms that lead to that happy life. I was like, this is gold. I really want to share this with people. And so I don't even know how we came on this conversation, but it was pretty much when us girls, when we get together, we always talk about really amazing, important topics, and we're not shy about really voicing our opinions. We've got a really group of strong women there, so I really appreciate everyone's input and everyone's insights. Really helps me to grow. And I think that's really important to have these kind of people in your life. And so Cathy says that choosing these three things is really going to help. So the first one is choosing the right, let's say, the right work. So finding your right work, and I also believe this, finding your purpose in life, even if it's just in your job that makes you happy, that find a job that makes you happy. Don't go into a job that you're doing it just to pay the bills. And I know, yes, at times we need to go into the job just to find the job that pays the bills and go for the job that pays the most so you have time to do other things. It's completely okay, but don't look at that as a long-term solution. If you're really not happy in your job, make sure you find something that is aligned with your purpose. Because you know what, I'll tell you a story about that. Because when I had a massive back injury in my early 30s, and this was a huge wake up call because at that time I was pretty unconscious. I didn't know anything that I know now. It's been a huge growth spurt in the last 15 years almost, that I was fairly happy. I didn't think there was anything really wrong with my life. I thought it was a pretty good life, and I never had anything bad or traumatic or any major problems before. But it was at that time when and people on my podcast, if you've listened for a while, you'll probably know this, that I had that massive back injury. I was training martial arts because it was very masculine, and I really always wanted to prove myself and show that I'm not weak, and I had to be tough all the time. So, but I really loved training martial arts. I thought it was like a really fantastic way to get fit. Also show and my expression of who I was, who I am, and it was a great way to meet people as well. And that's actually how I met my ex-husband. But when I had that massive back injury, I couldn't walk for a year. It was actually a year. So it was 6 months of intense sciatic pain, excruciating nerve pain going down both legs, so much that I couldn't walk. And we went on a cruise, my ex-husband and I went on a cruise for 10 days, and I thought I was okay at that point. And I had kind of a relapse, and just something happened, and it was excruciating pain. I'd have to lie down on the floor just to alleviate the pain. I couldn't sit down. It felt like maybe my spine, my discs were crushing the nerve, and it was giving me that really bad sciatic pain. And so I was in a wheelchair. Felt like, oh my gosh, like I felt like people were staring at me, and I felt really terrible. But so the whole point of that story is that it was a huge wake up call to tell me that I was not being aligned with my life purpose. So when your work is not, and your lifestyle is not aligned with your purpose, for me, I understood from my study in kinesiology and Chinese medicine was that your not living aligned to who you really are. And your body is the greatest symptom, the greatest sign that shows you, hey, you're not in alignment with what you said you're going to do in this lifetime before you came to earth. That's what I believe. And here's a wake up call to say, body, stop doing what you're doing and just stop and just get realigned. So that's what my body was doing. And what I realized was that even though my job was great, I was a designer in manufacturing for 18 years. I had a fairly successful career, I think, but I did move around jobs because I got bored really quickly and I wanted to grow and I wanted to challenge myself. But I realized my work was repetitive and I was always seeking something else, and it wasn't the greatest way for me to reach my potential. So what I realized that I had to change my life, and through that health scare, I realized that the work I was doing was not really making me happy. That was not the lifestyle that was making me happy. So Cathy says number one is to have the work that you feel fulfilled, that you're happy. Yes, you need to be making money. Money is important. Don't let anyone say to you that money is not important, because it can't buy you happiness, but it does help you buy time. And time gives you, to spend with your loved ones, to do the things that you want to do and not be stressed about life, right? So definitely having a job, having the career that makes the right amount of money for you to be happy, to live contentedly, and to live in abundance. That's really important. And to have that work where you're doing something that makes a difference. I think when you get into this life of growth and personal development, you start to realize that you want to live a life like, once you have yourself set up and you're not worried about trying to feed your kids or feed your family and have a roof over your head, you're out of that survival level. You normally want to be starting to look at what makes me fulfilled. And for a lot of people, what makes people fulfilled is to help other people and make an impact in the world. And I think because I'm an Enneagram, let's see, I think I'm an Enneagram 3, where I feel like my greatest purpose is to help people reach my potential, make an impact in the world. And I've always felt called and really driven to help people, but I didn't know how. I thought, my skills as a designer, I was good, but I was not like the best designer in the world. And that was kind of like a clue, right? It's kind of like, I like it, but I'm not super, super passionate about it. So take a look at that and see, is it a passion that you could like talk about forever, go on and on about? If someone like tells you something, are you going to go out and research that on your own and not have to be paid to go do something, right? That you'll read books and research and study about stuff like endlessly because you just love that topic. Then that's probably a really good sign that that's the area of work that you need to go towards, right? So when I found life coaching, I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to make my next business on helping people change their lives, transform who they are to who they really supposed to be, discover who they're supposed to be. And more recently, uncovering those mental and emotional blocks and reprogramming the subconscious so you can actually have the life that you want, and get rid of that automatic behavior that stops you from getting what you want out of safety and survival. Those things that don't serve you anymore, that you've outgrown. So that's really what I'm passionate about. So finding the work that makes you really happy and fulfilled and passionate about is the first wisdom, that my friend Cathy says. Okay, so the second wisdom is to change your environment, or make sure that your environment is conducive for you to be your best self. So this comes with a caveat as well, because when you change, you will probably, I'm not even going to say you might, but you will probably outgrow your environment as well, because who you have been has attracted the environment where you're living, your circle of friends, your boss, your work. Who you're being in that way creates your environment, right? So when you start to change from the inside, then all of a sudden it's like, well, what I used to wear, my clothes that I used to wear before, or that food that I used to love, or that that restaurant that I used to love going to, or I think my house is too small for me now, or maybe it's too big for you, or, I need to be in a different part of town. Those are things that your environment, and especially with friends, your circle of friends. And I always love to say that you are the average of the five people that you hang around with the most. So I always love surrounding myself with really wise people like my friend Cathy. And this helps you to grow as well, right? And a story about this is the environment, like my partner Raf. Um, if he ever comes onto the podcast, I'm sure he might mention this, that we both came to Spain intuitively seeking something. I wasn't sure what I was seeking, but for him, he was wanting a lifestyle, a certain something easy. He wanted a really easy life. But what we had in Barcelona, it was great for the first few years. But once we were growing, we realized we've really outgrown our environment, and it was just too noisy. It was a lot of pickpockets, and you'd have to worry about your safety and be careful of your stuff. It's that feeling of fight flight that you always have to be on guard. That's an example of choosing an environment that is conducive for your personal growth. So finding that environment, it's kind of like a two-way thing. It's you changing from the inside, but you can also start by changing your environment first so that your inside makes you feel ready for it. That's what a lot of people start to do. They get the big fancy car. They have a huge mortgage on a house that they can't quite afford. Have you heard this story? Back in those days when keeping up with the Joneses, it was that thing of buying something more than you can afford so you can reflect and be in that abundant state. But what people are missing out on is that there was no internal personal growth to keep up with that level of that outside external flashy exterior, right? So people were like miserable. People had huge mortgages that they couldn't pay back or didn't know how to pay back because they realized they'd gone in too deep. They were trying to change their environment without changing internally first, and recognizing those things that they thought they were going to make them happy didn't actually make them happy, and could have, created more problems financially or created arguments within relationships. So that was a way that people used to do it. They'd go into that external environment that wasn't aligned with who they were on the inside, and then it even made them miserable, right? So I reckon the best way to do it when you're growing and you want to be happy, and to choose that environment that is aligned with your values and also aligned with the kind of people who have the lifestyle that you want, but also the kind of people that you want to be around and hang around with. And those people are going to be your community that help you grow. And we all are around each other to help each other grow and bounce ideas off each other, mastermind. And that's why it's really great to have obviously wise friends, to have people who have worked through their own stuff and are also into personal growth. That also really helps. When I did Landmark many years ago, and that was my first entry into personal growth, and it really blew my mind. It just opened my mind to such great things. They also used to say that when you grow, you need to have the community that supports and that, yes, definitely supports, and what's that word? Aligns with that new you, the one that is grown. Because what happens is that when you start growing, and it's what happened with my ex-husband as well, he felt that he was holding me back. And all I wanted to do was bring him with me, but he wasn't ready to do that. And I realized that's when our marriage broke down. And so you want to be around people who are in the same level of personal growth or ahead of you, because you don't always want to be the one who's ahead and have to drag everyone across with you, right? That's a lot of hard work. You want to be with people who are in a similar level of growth and consciousness, and who are wanting to grow in the same direction, and you will grow together, like bouncing off each other, masterminding, having these amazing conversations and very deep connections. That is part of your environment that's really important and makes you happy. And a really interesting thing, what they one of my episodes in the past, and this podcast, I talk about what are the keys that people in the blue zone, why do these people live to be over 100 years old? they're called centenarians, I think. When how do these people live to such an age? Like, what is their secret? The number one secret to that longevity is actually a community and having the right people around you to kind of keep you going. And that's it made me think of that when we used to study Shakespeare in high school, and it was the Romeo and Juliet, wasn't it? When the greatest punishment was to be banished from society, and we used to think, to be banished from society is not a big deal, right? But back in those days, and now as a grown older person now, I realize to be shunned from your community, the ones that you love, that you rely on for your own mental, emotional, physical protection and love and growth, is the worst thing. To be left in isolation as a human being is actually one of the worst things that can happen to you. To be Some people choose to be isolated, right? But to be pushed out when you don't want to be isolated, it's like almost a fate worse than death, right? So that right environment has to be the right, conducive for your growth. And that's how you can be happy. And that's going to, and I think that's also what we were feeling at a certain point, that not having the right community of entrepreneurs who are growth minded, who can teach us things. That's really important for me, and that's why Raf and I, choose where we choose to live now. So, okay, so that's number two, the second wisdom, my friend Cathy says. And the third wisdom that she says is to have the right partner. The right partner is someone who helps you to grow, doesn't hold you back, and you help each other, right? You help each other to grow, you bounce off each other, and you're growing in the same direction. And that's what was a big difference between my ex-husband and my current partner, Raf, now, is that we have the same vision forward. We have the same lifestyle. We're growing together in the same direction, right? And if you if you're looking for somebody who's conscious as well, and especially for men who are in the masculinity, they're going to want to naturally provide and protect you. And what does that do? That actually just allows you to just be who you are and to shine. And that's really what the right kind of guy, the guy who is fulfilled within himself, and he knows who he is, he knows what he's meant to do in this planet, is to help the women around him to shine. And one of my mastermind group members, he's always talking about shining from the inside. His new program is actually called Shining from Within or something like that. So that's really where your partner is the one that will make you happy as well. And I talk a lot about the difference between the partner, the dependent kind of relationship, where you looking for someone to make you emotionally happy and fulfilled, as opposed to the interdependent relationship where you're looking for a partner who's already self-fulfilled, you're self-fulfilled, you both come together to share your life together to make each other happy, but you know that your happiness doesn't depend on and rely on your partner. Does that make sense? That's a huge difference. So a lot of the time when we're in in our 20s and even 30s, we don't know any different. We don't know that there is a ability to find an interdependent relationship. We grew up with this thinking, just like our parents did, that you meet somebody, you have kids, then you just grow all together and that's it, right? We didn't have that information that we have now, where we know now that women can make our own money. We don't need men to, support us so that we can survive. We can have kids on our own with, medical processes now. And we have advanced in technology so much that it's like, why do we need to partner? Like, in order to not feel lonely, it's not a good enough reason now to be in a relationship. It actually makes you more miserable, doesn't it? Like, most women would prefer to be single and alone than to be with somebody who makes them miserable, right? And of course, you still crave to have that intimacy with someone, to be with someone, to have someone to, have your back kind of thing. But at the risk of being trapped into a relationship that's worse off than, being single, and that you can actually make your own decisions, make your own choices, do what you like, most women prefer to be single. So that right partner is going to be so crucial for you to get to your next step in your journey in your life path, helping you reach your purpose. You're both creating an environment together in this amazing environment that's already conducive for you to grow together, being with the right people, being in the right place. And I actually had another friend who would do kind of readings for people where she would check their birth time and date. And you can see some areas in the world are more conducive for you to be successful in your business, be successful in love. And yeah, it's really interesting. It ties a lot back with astrology. And I find that stuff so, so interesting and fascinating. And so this is really such a eye-opening thing. If you can remember these three things, basically the first one is to find the work that you feel fulfilled and happy and is making the right amount of money for you, and also to learn some investment strategies. I highly recommend women to learn about property, real estate, trading, crypto, or anything like that, so you can learn how to support yourself and make money so you don't have to rely on anyone else. Make sure you educate yourself on that. So the first one is work. The second one is to choose the environment that is conducive for you to be happy. And as my friend chose Barcelona, she and her partner just love that place. She says that's where they feel really at home. And they actually moved from in Hong Kong, and I think they lived in other places as well, and felt that that location was like the best for them. And for us, it's probably going to be Sydney, Raf and I. Very looking forward to seeing what's available for us in Sydney. And the third thing is to find the right partner, to find the partner that is already self fulfilled, be in an interdependent relationship, and have each other to grow and make each other happy, but in a way that you know that you don't have to rely on them to give you all those things that you already have for yourself. And that's really a very strong relationship. So I hope that this episode has been helpful and you've gained some interesting insights. And hopefully you can have these conversations with your friends who are open for this. And maybe you can come up with another wisdom that might be interesting. So also, if you have any questions, make sure you contact me on Instagram at Michelle Chung Coach. Yeah, that's it. And yeah, also, if you're interested in how to manifest your soulmate and figuring out what is actually blocking you from manifesting, if you've been manifesting and you're not getting those results, this is the amazing training for you. You're going to get a lot of insight from this training. So make sure you register for that. It's for free. Go check it out. The links in the show details down below. And I really look forward to hanging out with you again. And hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much and see you later.